Morning. There's that famous saying, it's correlation doesn't equal causation. All the hoity-toity people who try to sound smart always say that. And I think it's actually largely true. The fact that things are in proximity or coincidental with one another does not necessarily indicate that they're actually in contact or meaningfully causal with regards to each other. But I think practically speaking, correlation sometimes does equal causation. You could very easily imagine a scenario in which a person happens to be in a laundromat and they happen to get SA'd in a laundromat. From now on, their brain creates this traumatic association between the SA and where they were when the SA happened. Now, there's no actual causal link there, but obviously in their brain, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that they aren't causal. It's an irrational fear, an irrational association between the laundromat and the thing that happened to them. So, yes, technically, it feels like a correlation doesn't equal causation, not logically in any case, but, practically speaking, in any case, since when have people been logical? All right, moving on. We have a couple of videos to look at, and then... All right, let me get this on the screen. All right, first video by Brett Cooper. Why is everyone pissed off over the Odyssey casting? Because it's terribly wrong. Do you actually, Elliot Page, dang it. Ellen Page has been thrown out there as playing the ghost of Achilles, which is completely, it's completely a thing that, in theory could happen. No, but I've been thinking about this. It does feel like how much of what we want to do with regards to pronouns, like instinctively in the way we speak, how much of it has to do with the type of name we're using? Because I find myself, when I'm thinking Elliot Page, I'll say he. But I think that's literally just because you just said Elliot Page. Elliot, which is a boy's name, innately, kind of. So you say, oh yeah, Elliot Page, he, blah, 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 blah. But if you said Ellen Page, you would naturally say she did, blah, 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 blah. So we think of it as some sort of like, I don't know, I feel like someone who was trans could think of it as some sort of Freudian slip. Oh yeah, well, you just said, like, I don't know if that's the case. I think sometimes it's just the way we think about it in our heads. We associate the pronouns with the type of name it is, with the gendered version of whatever name it is. Anyways, let's get into this.
Alright, so since the prolific filmmaker Christopher Nolan decided to take on The Odyssey with his new adaptation, I have been following all of the drama surrounding this film. I mean, people have had criticisms and thoughts and...
Never actually listened or read The Odyssey. I should sometime. Like, so is the Iliad the prequel, or is it... Because I think you a lot of times would hear them in consort, the Iliad and the Odyssey.
Opinions about the casting and the costumes, literally everything. And for the most part, the majority of the...
Sorry, prequel might be the wrong term. It predates, like in sequence. The Odyssey is, sequential to the Iliad. I have to look this up. Two foundational epic poems attributed to the ancient Greek poet Homer, often published together as a single volume. The Iliad focuses on the final year of the Trojan War, centered on the rage of the hero Achilles, while the Odyssey chronicles the hero Odysseus's long and perilous... So it would happen in sequence, I think. Because Odysseus would have fought in the Trojan War, and then, interesting.
Outrage, up until recently, has been coming from the left. But now, in the last 48 hours or so, conservatives have started to get outraged. They're pointing out their own issues with the film, and so our friends over at Variety published
missing something?
literally everything. And for the most part, the majority of the outrage, up until recently, has been coming from the left. But Now, in the last 48 hours or so, conservatives have started to get outraged. They're pointing out their own issues
To be clear, I didn't know that the lefties didn't like this. I thought they would have loved it.
with the film, and so our friends over at Variety published an article about that.
I think Athena is also being cast as Zendaya was cast as Athena, which is, she's one of those people they're like technically black, but they look very, I don't know, Mediterranean-esque. There was one of the ladies on The View, Sunny Houston, who I believe got up on and was saying that, oh no, blah, 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 like, historians are very cut about, the influence of Egypt and what, like, or something like that on Greek mythology or stuff like that. And this part of me was like, okay, but Egypt has more in common with everything in the Middle East. I would say Egypt and North Africa have more in common with Europe and the Middle East than they have anything to do with, like, sub-Saharan Africa. Like, they're on the same landmass. They are not the same at all. The whole culture is entirely kind of separate. In the same way that Europeans are on the same landmass as, Far East Asia. Like, yeah, technically they're on the continent. I would not put them in the same, like they are. I guess now we're saying that everyone that's on the African continent is in fact African. I don't know. Just seems a little bit weird. On a completely related note, is the word street Arab racist? Give me all your hot takes. No. I think I came across it in Innocents Abroad, which is actually where I learned the word bakshish as well. It's probably racist. It's probably insensitive or something. Because you're kind of, yeah. I might use it one of these times anyways, just to piss people off.
Which made me literally LOL, specifically because this article opens with this. Just listen, guys. You're gonna laugh. The author writes, from the team that brought you Why is Snow White Latina? Why are there black people in the Rings of Power? And Star Wars has gone woke comes the latest online onslaught against an anticipated Hollywood project that has committed the unfathomable sin of having...
Yeah, okay, so just to clarify, if this were any other culture, if this were any non-white culture, this same person, Marlo Stern, would be getting their torch and pitchfork. They would be the first one getting their torch and pitchfork. Like, it feels like there is very much a double standard where the only culture that is allowed to be desecrated in the most indecent sorts of ways, in the most obscene sorts of ways, seems to be white culture. Everyone can be white. No one can be any other. Like, white people cannot be any other race. That's how these castings go. It never, like, I would say it almost never goes the other way, which is actually interesting. Like, I haven't actually watched The Boys, but I'm pretty sure, like, I tend to read a lot of, like, lore about shows, even though I don't watch them. Actually, I've read a lot about the Game of Thrones, which is a really intriguing world. Some worlds, it's weird. Some worlds, I don't know why, but, like, something like the Elden Ring, I just find the world itself incredibly depressing. But bring it back in. In The Boys, I think A-Train was actually supposed to be Hispanic, and they race swapped him to black, which is, it's interesting to see it go that way, at least. I'm pretty sure in the comics he would have been Hispanic, and he did not get any sort of redemption arc. I think also Queen Maeve was much less altruistic. Technically, I think she had, yeah, it's a bit interesting the way they fiddled with that one.
A diverse cast. Well, I have a lot to say about this article and about the controversy, but first...
It's a nice way of framing it, though, too. For the sin of having a diverse cast. I think the sticking point for most people was the casting of Lupita Nyong'o, who some people say is ugly. I do not think she's ugly. I think she's just miscast. Like, she like, again, would you ever do this with regards to any other culture's icons? Like, Yeah, I don't think so. Somehow I don't think so.
First of all, we have to ask, how did all that turn out for all of...
What? And again, I think I've stated this before. I'm less pissed at her than I am at the people who. I guess she took the job. Technically, I don't know if she was pressured into it or whatever. But I'm more pissed at the people who kind of put her in the position where she either could or had to accept this. Who actually said, "Oh no, we need a black person as Helen of Troy," because they're the ones putting black people in the hot seat, proverbially. Like that is. It's kind of a sicko move on their part.
The projects that you just listed, huh? Are they doing well? Is Disney succeeding? Just asking questions. Now, of course, I have thoughts, I have answers, but before we dive into that, I want to remind you guys that on May 19th, next week, I will be at Zanies here in Nashville, so if you want to catch a live show, hear some stories, learn what's going on in my life, we'll talk about my favorite things that are just going crazy on the internet, come to the show May 19th if you're in the greater Nashville, Middle Tennessee area, and of course, if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and a comment. I can't wait to hear your thoughts. Make sure to subscribe and ring that notification bell so you always stay up to date on everything we are doing on The Brett Cooper Show. All right, let's dive in. I'm so excited about this. I kind of made myself laugh when I was like, I have answers and I have thoughts, of course. And something that I think about all the time is the fact that, I mean, I'm just so lucky. I feel so grateful to be doing the show. I love the show, and it's especially great because, like, as a kid, I was such a know-it-all. I mean, I'm still kind of a know-it-all. Like, my mom's major issue
You sound like a know-it-all.
with me when
Who can talk really fast, too.
I was a kid was she would, like,
No, sorry.
try to give me direction for something like, Brett, I'm going to explain how to do something to you, and be like, I don't want to hear it, I know how to do it. Like, I know how to do everything.
That's technically something I can I could probably commiserate with a little bit, because it's one of those things where, like, if I can't figure it out myself, I don't want to know. Like, don't tell me. I think most of us could probably, to some extent, like, they could sympathize with that perspective.
Extremely overconfident, which honestly I get from my mother. I had opinions on everything, and I wanted to tell everybody about it, and I could...
Opinions? I've never had an opinion about anything. I'm just the soul of reserved stoicism.
Literally just, like, talk to a tree. You did not have to respond to me. I would literally just talk all day long. One of my favorite phrases
Case in point.
as a kid was like, I could have done that better. Like, if that were me, I would have done this.
I guess it's a video, so she's supposed to talk, but it does come out, like, I'm saying, like, the characterization of how she's speaking right now seems to indicate that.
Differently. So yeah, I am asking questions about things that are going on online, but obviously I have opinions, and I get to sit in an empty room with a camera and talk to you guys about them, which is just so cool. Anyway, that was just a little aside. I'm so happy that you guys are here listening to me rant about things. Anyway, so let's dive into this. So just from a bird's eye view about the Odyssey, I just want you to take a look at this cast. The film is coming out this summer. It's been very anticipated, and it is stacked. I mean, Matt Damon is in it too.
Okay. How much I want to bet there's a reason these two were cast in the same movie. Just pointing that out. I think they're feels like to some extent they might be attached to the... Well, I guess I don't know. How many things have they been cast in? There's definitely Spider-Man that they're both in, right? They are married now, right? Like Zendaya and Tom Holland, I think, are married. Holy crap, this is diverse as all get out. He must feel so... gosh darn inclusive. I don't know.
Anne Hathaway, Tom Holland, and
Odysseus. Telemachus, just for the record, for anyone who doesn't know how to pronounce this, it's Telemachus. Agamemnon. Melantho. Okay, this one I actually don't know. Eumaeus? Eurylochus? I don't know about that one either.
Thea, Charlize Theron.
Telemachus, I remember because I think it was on Homer Price. There's a guy called Telemachus.
It is like the Avengers of A-listers. And I mean, I look at that, I'm like, okay, that's cool. I'm sure we're gonna get amazing performances out of this project. No, wrong, my friends. Not cool, not great, not acceptable, because controversy after
I would even say, like, I think you could have done this 10 years ago and gotten away with it a little bit. But it feels like these days, it's never enough that they cast someone, that they actually race swap the person. There's something to be said for not addressing the elephant in the room. And they have to rigorously address the elephant in the room every single time. Hey, did you see we cast so-and-so as such and such? Hey, how do you feel about the fact that we cast so-and-so and such and such? How do you feel being the first blank, 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 blank to play this role? Blah, 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 blah. Like, yeah, I feel like the people who make the movies, like the directors, the casting agents, whatever the heck, they're the ones that are beating the horse dead, and then burying the horse, and then digging the horse back up, and then beating it again, with regards to stuff like this. Where it feels like if you just didn't talk about it nearly as much, you would get far less blowback from it. Like, I didn't remember there being a lot of blowback when Nick Fury was cast as... No, when Samuel Jackson was cast as Nick Fury. And I guess maybe there's probably some, because Nick Fury is white in the comics. But Samuel Jackson did a great job at it. I think for most people who aren't into the comics, Nick Fury is black. He was literally... Like, he's kind of in the same way that Robert Downey Jr. defined the character Iron Man. It would be really hard for someone else to play that, I guess. No, maybe it's doable, but it feels like for a lot of people, they're kind of iconic in those roles. That's my hot take.
Controversy has now followed this casting every step of the way. Everyone has an opinion. Everyone is arguing about it from their own political point of view, obviously trying to win the culture war per usual, which I feel like just in general, most people in the real world are exhausted by. I personally find myself exhausted by it. But again, bird's eye view, like the left wants representation. They want to see everybody represented. They want fewer roles for these big, rich, established actors. They want Christopher Nolan to be helping out the little guy. The right is calling out Christopher Nolan for race swap.
Okay. What are we talking about? Oh, is it because all the big name castings?
I personally find myself exhausted by it. But again, bird's eye view, like the left wants representation. They want to see everybody represented. They want fewer roles for these big, rich, established actors.
Okay, that's why, because it is like a commie thing or something like that. And they're doing a more nepotism, established actor type thing. Okay.
They want Christopher Nolan to be helping
I guess that makes sense.
out the little guy. The right is calling out Christopher Nolan for race swapping in the very odd, interesting choice to cast Elliot Page. Elliot Page, allegedly, as the great
Ellen Page.
warrior Achilles. And we're going to get into that. But first, we need to talk about the hypocritical selective outrage, which this time is coming from the left. Because when this cast was first announced, I think it was, more than a year ago, a lot of people were upset, specifically the film snobs, the woke Hollywood types, and they were upset because, number one, like you just heard, because he chose these A-list actors instead of finding young, up-and-coming people, getting a gritty cast together.
I guess Tom Holland and Zendaya are no longer young and up-and-coming. Tom Holland he still looks freakishly young.
Together. And then number two, they were upset because none of these actors are
I wonder if he can actually grow a beard or anything like that. You might want to try it sometime. If he ever wants to be seen as like not the Justin Bieber weird Adonis archetype or whatever. If he wants to ever grow out of that, you might want to try growing some facial hair. I guess I don't know. Maybe you can't. Some people just they always have. Mine is still kind of patchy in the sides there, but I try to actually do kind of a fade in, which maybe mitigates some of that. But
actually Greek. And of course, Homer's The Odyssey is an epic poem. It is a Greek epic poem, probably the most well-known, famous, foundational piece of Greek art in the entire world. But here's the thing. This is the way that I view it. Christopher Nolan, because of his standing in Hollywood.
I'm just thinking, like, again, hate to belabor this point, but if someone were to make a movie about Nate King Cole or something, he's like an iconic black person, right? If we were to make a movie about Nate King Cole and cast him as a white dude, be like, oh, why are you suppressed about it? I mean, what does it matter? We just wanted some like, no, they would rightly be extremely pissed about that, I imagine.
He can cast whoever he wants. I mean, he is the most sought after director in Hollywood, literally. Like, everyone in Hollywood literally fights to get cast in his movies. Robert Pattinson, who is in this upcoming Odyssey film.
Actually, I don't know if they like Nate King. Well, I feel like Nate King Cole is more for an older generation. I still like him, but that's primarily because I like old music a lot. I don't know, who would be the iconic black musician these days? 50 Cent? Who's the dude who's always going after Kendrick Lamar? He's making jokes about Drake or whatever.
He even talked about how he begged Zendaya, who he was just in another film with, to put in a good word for him, and that's actually how he got his role in the film. Anytime movies, Robert Pattinson, who is in this upcoming Odyssey film, he even talked about
okay, so that's what's
how he begged Zendaya, who he was just in another film with, to put in a good word for him, and that's actually how he got his role in the film. Anytime you watch those.
A lot of people are kind of going spare over the whole idea of, I believe Tom Holland uses the word dad or daddy. Like, not in a weird way, but literally they just use that lingo to, denote his father. And the question as to whether in real life a person would use some sort of informal address is, I think, kind of moot. It's a movie. I think especially in like Greek epics or Shakespearean tragedies or stuff like that, we expect a degree of formality from the characters involved. So I don't think that the question of how would they have done it in real life, like, no, it's a play, or basically it's supposed to be formal. He would say father in this play. That feels more appropriate in any case.
Those actors on actors roundtable interviews, I think maybe Hollywood Reporter or Variety does those. They're always talking about how, their bucket list item, their dream in their career industry is to work with Christopher Nolan. So he has his pick of everyone. If he wanted to do all Greek, he could. If he wants to make a crazy diverse cast, he can make that happen. And everyone in the industry is kind of like, we just let Christopher Nolan be Christopher Nolan. And listen, I am not here getting my panties in a bunch about stuff, but I agree, in all.
Okay, here's a question. Are Greeks kind of in the same category as, Italians, where they're considered, almost not white or something like that? It feels like a lot of, the Mediterranean-esque. I would almost put all of those countries kind of in the same grouping. You'd maybe have your Middle Eastern countries like Saudi Arabia and Pakistan. Pakistan's actually even further east, right? It's, up and to the right, to the east. Well, there's kind of the Middle Eastern type of sect of nations, and there's North Africa and Southern Europe. And I imagine just because they're in proximity to the Mediterranean, there would have been a lot of intertrade or stuff like that. So I kind of see them as almost their own subculture, if that makes sense. Their own primary, their own area. What's their own biome? That's not it. You get what I'm saying.
A Greek cast would have been incredibly cool, especially because if there is anybody in Hollywood who has the sway to pull that off, who could, put together a cast of essentially nobodies, up-and-coming Greek actors that he has discovered. If anybody could put that together and still get butts into theaters, still get them to come out to support an amazing film, it would be him, just because of the pull that he has in Hollywood and with audiences. So, was going with all of these A-listers the lazy or easier route? Sure, I would argue it was a lot more expensive, so I don't know if it was the better route, but you could say that, but I don't.
I've heard also that, I guess I don't even know if I've really watched a lot of Nolan's stuff, but I think I watched some of the Dark Knight Rises or something like that, maybe. But I've heard that he kind of got popular, and as inevitably happens, when people get popular in Hollywood, they start getting the types of friends who want them to be more mainstream, I guess. They start wanting to appeal to the mainstream, perhaps. And I've heard that he kind of sold out a little bit with regards to this thing.
Again, I don't really care. It's Christopher Nolan. He's going to do what Christopher Nolan wants to do, but a lot of people really did care, and that's the point that I'm trying to make. Somebody said, I decided to check up the IMDb page for Nolan's Odyssey.
Oh, and I've heard also the notion that this will probably do good just because Nolan has a lot of fans. They diehard types of fans and whatnot. And it probably will. I mean, there's a lot of hype, I guess, around it. A lot of people just, even if they think it'll do crap, even if they think it's a terrible iteration, they'll go to see The Crash. But I feel like it might not have the mass appeal that it would have had if he had just played it straight. Like, if he just done kind of an unremarkable, appropriate cast, an unremarkable, appropriate, era-appropriate story, as authentic as possible, and as good as you can get it with regards to that. I would say, yeah, I don't know.
And it really managed to assemble a diverse cast from all over the world without including a single Greek. Generational casting work for a movie based on one of the most well-known pieces of Greek literature. The best they could do is giving a supporting role to part Greek Michael Valamis. Valamis? Hopefully I'm pronouncing his name correctly. So that's just an example of one of these critiques. Now, on top of this very dire situation, the lack of traditional Greek representation, as the trailers started coming out and the little teasers for the Odyssey, people also started nitpicking Christopher Nolan's costume design. So, for example, in this image and clip, you see Agamemnon, who was wearing black.
I've heard that the armor is incredibly inaccurate, which I wouldn't notice myself, but, you know, it's got the history bros all up in a tizzy.
Armor. And I saw that, I was like, okay, that looks cool. I didn't really think anything of it, but some people were not happy about this. Like, one person tweeted, you have two kinds of people upset about the historical accuracy of the new Odyssey movie. There's the ones who are very upset about black people being in it, but not so much the white people. And then you have the people upset that they didn't go with the tin can armor that they had back then, who is me, is what this girl is saying. So a lot of people apparently were expecting the traditional bright bronze.
Yeah, something to piss off everyone.
AKA.
That's real inclusion.
What would have been more historically accurate, or I guess what we perceive as being historically accurate for the Trojan War Greek era. But Nolan obviously went with this really dark, heavy style. It kind of looks medieval to me. People online were saying that it looked more like Batman armor instead of Greek.
I believe people have used this, that Nolan's... They've talked about the notion that Nolan's films are always, like, grounded and gritty, which is maybe to a fault.
Armor, which honestly, I see it in some of these clips, it makes sense. But to his credit, Nolan was apparently looking for other historical accuracy. Like, he said that the black armor was very intentional. It was inspired by theories about darkened bronze weapons at the time. Like, there was a style, they would use sulfur, they would darken the armor, I don't know.
Imagine being able to build an app with your name on it, just by thinking about it. Meet Base 44.
He also took some liberties while simultaneously trying to pursue historical accuracy with things like telling his composer not to use an orchestra for the score.
It's weird.
Or because they didn't have an orchestra back then. So that was something he was being really particular about.
Persnickety.
So the point that I am trying to make is that way before the last 48 hours, the last 4 days, whatever it's been, way before the right-wing internet got involved in this whole controversy, people were already nitpicking Christopher Nolan's choices. They were nitpicking the historical accuracy, the cast, everything. And so this week, when it came out that Nolan had cast actress Lupita Nyong'o to play Helen of Troy, the most...
That's the clincher for a lot of people. Like, not an ugly woman. I think if people don't like her, there's certainly personal taste involved. Some people aren't really attracted to black women. I can, or sometimes am not. Doesn't happen that often, but it can happen. She's not ugly. She's not ugly at all. She's quite pretty in my mind. Still doesn't. It's not a good casting.
Beautiful woman in the world, so beautiful that...
I was going to say doesn't belong there, but that was not kind of weird. But no, literally, she does not belong in that role.
The story of her abduction literally...
Sorry if that makes me racist.
Started the Trojan War, long been described and perceived and portrayed as this, like, blonde, fair-skinned beauty, Helen of Troy. You would think that the same people who were nitpicking the historical accuracy, colors of things, the beauty, all of that, that they would take issue with that casting as well, right? Like, you would think that they would keep the same energy. Wrong! Obviously wrong. Obviously not. They just decided to call out everybody on the right as being racist. And so suddenly now, the Odyssey has become the latest culture war fodder. So obviously Lupita's role being announced sparked a frenzy on X. For example, Matt Walsh posted, "We're told that we shouldn't object to Helen of Troy being portrayed as a black woman."
Yeah.
And yet if a major Hollywood studio made a film set in
I think I shall.
Africa and cast a white woman as the most beautiful woman in Africa, those same people would literally riot in the streets if...
Yeah, that's true.
say Sydney Sweeney was cast in the role, they would be driven to murderous violence. We all know this is the case.
Because Sydney Sweeney is a Nazi, of course.
And he's not saying anything that is inaccurate, like that is a
Who's not actually a natural blonde, as I understand it.
fact, especially when it comes to Sydney Sweeney, who they long have called a Nazi now. And then Elon Musk responded to Matt's tweet and said, absolutely true, such hypocrisy in Hollywood. And like from there, Elon...
Like, I can't help but think that a lot of this is motivated by some sort of patronizing BS. Oh, aren't we great for, doing this thing for black people all over the world? I'm sure they're going to introduce some sort of African electro-funk as Helen of Troy's theme song now. Isn't that what they do with black people? Because black people like rap and that type of fusion of traditional African songs and modern music. Yeah. Maybe they'll put some... They did cast a rapper, right? They cast a rapper because obviously ancient poetry, rap and poetry, they're basically this prose, modern rap, talking about... I don't even know what... I don't know if that's... I don't know if a lot of people would put like Shakespearean prose and modern rap in the same thing. Although they have rhyme and rhythm. I suppose they have that in common, but the content involved is rather different, shall we say.
Just let it rip. Post after post talking about this, saying Nolan was just trying to get an Oscar, so he was, filling his diversity quota, all of these things, talking about how idiotic this casting choice was. So there were...
I was trying to think of how to say this thing. It feels like they're doing things that are increasingly impractical and completely incongruous, completely ridiculous, and then touting it like it's something amazing. First black person to play this role that is described unequivocally as being white. First wheel to be square. Like, yes, we did it. Look at what we've accomplished. Like, it just...
So many posts like this, but my personal...
Anyways, you guys can look at the rest of this video yourself if you like. Why is everyone pissed off over the Odyssey casting by Brett Cooper? Now, Dr. K explains Escaping Your Ego Free Members Lecture. I'd actually, contrary to what people think about shorts, I'd actually discovered this video because of a short. So, that was cool. It's one of his members.
Y'all wanted advanced...
All right, 3, 2, 1, mark. All right, it's a video by Dr. K. Dr. K explains Escaping Your Ego Free Members Lecture from Healthy Gamers. And contrary to what people think about shorts, I actually did discover this video by watching a short. So we're going to watch it now. I'd actually clipped part of the end of this out, which is the part I'd really liked, and we might actually go over that, but stuck it at the end of my Wes Watson point left study thingy. All right, let's get into this.
Y'all wanted advanced... Here it is. The more y'all wanted advanced... Here it is. The more you say I am ... the more problems you're going to run into. Basically... recognizing that, okay, like, I'm not my thoughts, I'm not my emotions, I'm not even my identity. I am that which is. If you want to suffer...
It's kind of weird. You think of yourself as being your thoughts in a lot of ways, I think, because that's where we rationalize stuff, perhaps. I don't know exactly why, because it's kind of one of those things where thoughts are a little bit weird in that, like, you can pick up this and set it down. Now, like, you can pick it up and let go of it. Like, it feels like that would be the part of you that's the least you, right? And with regards to thoughts, you can have them, and then you can let them go. I don't know, memory would be closer to it. Awareness would be closer to it. But with regards to, like, thoughts themselves, no, they're not really a part of you, unless they become like a pattern or an instinctive drive or something like that. And I think if you dwell on thoughts, you can create some sort of second-order belief or desire or whatever, which can, that can become a part of you. But they're not incontrovertibly a part of you. They're very ephemeral in our own minds. They're something that you can espouse or let go of, or they're very detachable. That would be the idea.
For less, the elimination of a Humgar is very important. Hey, y'all.
He's getting into some weird, Indian stuff too. Sorry. Getting into some weird astral, I don't know. Indian might be the wrong term. Like, what is the religion behind all that? Is it Hindi? Or is there religion? He's getting into some weird guru stuff, okay? But, it's a good video anyways. I'm not read up on it. I don't know much about it. I don't know what's spiritual gobbledygook and what's actually just, Eastern medicine or something like that. But
HE membership.
Generally speaking, I'm a little bit skeptical-ish. At least if it's involving astral planes and stuff. But
Chips is officially 1 year old. We asked our members which lecture they wanted to share with our general community, and the answer was overwhelmingly the series on ego. So please enjoy this gift from our members to y'all, the general community. Happy holidays, and I hope it helps. So today what we're going to do is advanced perspectives on a hump god. Let's start with sort of super big picture.
All right, I'm going to have to swap this over, because I think he tends to put his camera over there. Yoink. All right. I think we're all good.
Picture. So in the West, our model of the mind is based on people talking. And from talking, we get a extrapolation into thinking, right? So we have people like Freud or Jung who listen to people talk, and based on what they say.
Well, here's what I reckon. I tend to think in a lot of ways, what we are is perhaps an aggregate understanding of our observations of what we are. Right? The notion of generally of thought or understanding has to do with, it begins with an observation. Like, you can think of it like you're looking at a statue, and you look at the front of the statue, and you walk around to the side, you look at the side of the statue, you walk around to the back, you look at the back of the statue, you walk around to the other side, get a look at that side. And, from a subjective perspective, you can only observe one of these facets of the statue at a single time. But if you create an internal model, a mental model of the statue, you get a much more complete idea. This is what the statue is. And maybe that could apply to, a sense of self to some extent. There's kind of an interesting follow-on from that, it would seem. The notion would be that if you think of thought and understanding and rationalization as an extrapolation of observations, a way to make sense of it all and to create a more perfect union, I guess. But if you think of it in those terms, and it would seem a logical follow-on from that would be that the manner in which you observe the thing would govern the way in which you think about it. There would be different modalities of thought. If you're seeing or hearing or smelling something, you would maybe think of that more in terms of intellect versus experiencing something on an emotional level. You would have a different way of thinking about it and different language you would use for it versus experience something conscientiously or something like that. And I don't know if you could really mix and match. It would be like using Shakespearean prose to try and describe a chemical reaction. I just don't know if it really works. But it's an intriguing thought in any case. Anyways. That's what I reckon.
They concluded certain things about their minds. In the East, we had direct observation of the mind, which we had in the West as well. So Freud and Jung and people like that, they analyzed their own dreams and looked at their own thoughts. So it's not that there wasn't direct observation in the West. It's just that
the phrase "talk it out" kind of was something I've heard.
Generally speaking, our method of understanding was more based on talking, right? And so Freud learned a lot of his theories were based on his extrapolations of other people's minds, whereas the yogis studied their own mind for 70 years in one lifetime. So what this results in is this conception of, okay, there's different things in the mind. Okay, so if you look at the function of the mind, we have our manas. This is our emotional mind, our reactive mind, and also where likes and dislikes come from, right? So if I eat a fruit and the first time I try a fruit, I think, oh my God, this is delicious. That's not a thought. That's not an analysis. It is a reaction. So this is the manas. If we also sort of think about emotions, emotions are kind of like that too, right? So you don't get to choose which emotion you experience. Your emotion is an automatic reaction to a particular emotion in lifetime. So what this results in is this conception of, okay, there's different things in the mind.
Actually, I think I'm going to jump ahead. Well, okay, we can watch through. But I do want to, at the end, I do want to skip this middle part and jump to the end. Wait a minute. This isn't the one. What the deuce? No.
One of the most bizarrely toxic things.
There we go. This is the preamble to a stream. All right, here we go. This is the video we were looking for. I might keep, I thought there was some interesting stuff in that last one, so maybe we'll keep that, but this is the video we were looking for. Dr. K and Kruti review pickup artist advice. Okay, so I didn't see anyone else here. Maybe this is part of a bigger stream? I don't know. But again, I think we're going to skip to the end here. That's the part I'd used in my video, so we'll see what's what here. So, like, this is the one I was looking for, though.
Does that work? Okay. Alrighty, chat. Let's get started. Welcome to another Healthy Gamer GG stream. My name is Dr. Alok Kanoji. Just a reminder that although I am a doctor, nothing we discuss on stream today is intended to be taken as medical advice. Everything is for educational or entertainment
Disclaimer.
Purposes only.
Kind of sus.
If y'all have a medical concern,
I've said this before. I still hate incense. We had some of it growing up. I don't like the smell of it, generally speaking. It's smoke, dude. You have smoke in your house. You know. No doubt that's incredibly racist. No, I just don't like it.
or question, please go see a licensed professional. Yeah, so we are going to be doing a fun stream today in honor of our... in honor...
Okay, so there is someone off camera.
Of it being a Friday, which is oftentimes when we allow dating and relationship kind of stuff on our Reddit, things like that. So we're going to be talking a little bit about dating and relationships today. Kruti may be joining us after about an hour to hour and a half.
Okay. I don't think that ever happened, though.
So today what we're going to be doing is talking a little bit about pickup artist, red pill kind of...
Oh, joy. Well, I'm obviously watching, so obviously I did enjoy it to some extent, but man, just in general, I don't know if they're the sort of people I would want to hang out with most
ideas,
of the time.
Let's say. So we're going to be looking at a couple of like posts and things like that, and we're going to be sort of commenting on them from like sort of a psychiatric or psychological perspective. So I'm super excited about doing this because, I dipped my toes in the pickup artist community in the early 2000s. I had a friend who was like, hey, bro, like, so this was back when I was like a freshman in college. And, we were, as any good freshman at the University of Texas party school doing, we were trying to pick up chicks and get laid, bruh. And so, I think like in the early 2000s, there was this kind of this...
That's like, I don't know. Whole notion of going to college, I find, especially like I never went to college, especially at this age. I think I would find it completely insufferable. I think I would find like the type of people I would meet there completely insufferable, perhaps. Yeah, maybe not. Maybe it would depend on the college too, but
fail. Okay, GG chat. I'm the shitty that was wrecked. Okay, so let's talk about.
All right, I think this is where he actually gets into the red pill stuff.
Pickup artists, red pill, etc. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is the art of the neg. Now, one of the challenges of like doing
Vocal. Everything about that sounds weird to me. Could you please call it something else?
this kind of stuff is that, I don't know if you guys know this, but oftentimes the posts on Pickup Artists, Red Pill, or whatever are like
I didn't even notice that going through it the last time. I just like, yeah, vocal rape. Really?
some real walls of text. And that's not like a bad thing. It's just, we don't have time to read all that. So what I've taken the liberty of doing is trying to summarize, I think, the important parts of the post. But once again, like, let's just be fair. So let's keep in mind that anytime you have someone on the internet who is reviewing something, they're going to be selective in what they choose to include and what they choose to respond to, right? So, like, oftentimes we don't offer a complete picture. So I just want to say that from the get-go is that, like, I'm leaving some stuff out. Now, I don't think I'm leaving out a lot of the substantive stuff. Like, most of what I tried to trim were, like, the examples as opposed to the key points. So I did my best to kind of pull out the key theses. So let's talk about this concept of negging, right? So summary, some people think, and this is directly copy-pasted, okay?
Sounds like a weird name. No, it actually sounds like a weird combination of something, like negging, negligent giggling.
Some people think negging is vocal rape. Maybe this will clear up that misconception. To clarify, negging is simply a form of teasing / flirting.
Okay, so they don't call it that themselves. Sorry, I didn't read the actual things. I was just seeing vocal rape. So I don't think they actually call that themselves. It's maybe something that people think about the technique. I don't even know if they would call it vocal. I guess I don't know if they just pulled that out of thin air or if someone actually did start calling it that.
They're also, unfortunately, why the red pill and seduction community have a reputation for being full of manipulative douchebags. Guys going around insulting women and lowering their self-esteem, hoping it'll get them to drop their panties faster than she'd drop a heavy bowling ball. This conception relies on a misunderstanding of what negging actually is. A neg isn't an insult. A neg, rather, is merely the kind of comment that someone who is interested in her wouldn't make, based on the ever so rampant women are wondering.
Okay. Why is this mouse hovering up here? Is this some sort of Freudian? Maybe this is just abstraction. Maybe he's just running his mouse or something like that. So I don't have my hand on my mouse most of the time, but I can imagine if I did while I was doing stuff, it would just maybe do the equivalent of like mental scribbling while I was watching something. Because he's down here. The conception relies on the misunderstanding that negative. Yeah.
Full effect. Negs don't even have to be negative. What they're really doing is negating your own interest. For example.
Wait. Where is he actually? Am I the one? Drop heavy and bowling ball. This concept relies on the misunderstanding of what neg is. A neg is an insult. A neg is rather a merely kind of comment someone that wasn't interested you would make, based on the ever so rampant women are wonderful effect.
Another classic, you and I would not get along, we're too alike. You're not saying anything bad about her, merely that you're not interested in dating her. The reality is,
I feel like the whole notion of, oh, be this way, oh, be that way, or say this type of thing to get women, I guess I don't like the notion in general, because it feels like if you behave in a certain way, you'll get a certain type of woman, but there's no guarantee that that woman would be the type of woman who's good for you. So like any technique that involves being something you are not would in theory involve attracting the type of women who would not be attracted to you. They're not really attracted to who you are as a person. They're attracted to the type of personality or technique you present to them. Meaning you're attracting someone who might not be ideal for you because you're not behaving like you would normally behave. Feels like it's a recipe for disaster, effectively.
That most other women, even most other very attractive women, are constantly being made to feel inadequate about their appearance. Not only, therefore, are these women not standing on pedestals which they need to be knocked off of before you can talk to them. So they're not standing on pedestals.
I can't believe that. Women love each other.
Pistols, so therefore you don't need to knock them off. But in fact, most of the time they'll respond much more positively towards the flattery inherent in your attention. Okay? So I think like this, in a lot of ways, is really solid. So let's talk a little bit about negging. So negging is this concept that if you're interested in...
It's bringing that what I was saying before back to the point. It feels like the notion of being nice to a woman or being nasty to a woman is kind of moot. I feel like you should just, generally speaking, be yourself, and hopefully being yourself will present a more balanced reaction to beautiful or ugly or just women in general. Like if you just are yourself, you'll be appropriate. You'll be able to compliment someone when they deserve complimenting or call them out if they need to be called out.
Someone, you should, on the one hand, because there are other posts about negging that say that like you should say something negative to them. Like that's literally, I think, what negging means. So sometimes you should be insulting to the person that you're attracted to. And on the other side, this person...
Again, I think it's better if you're just honest with the person you're attracted to.
Makes the argument that negging is a way to demonstrate a lack of interest. So let's understand like both of these perspectives. So it's my firm belief that one of the most solid foundations of success in the pickup artist community is creating a sample size that is so large that eventually you find a psychologically damaged and or traumatized woman.
Spot on. No, I do feel like that is like the case. Like success to some extent with regards to like that type of pickup artistry or short-term mating strategy is just a question of how many times are you willing to do it. How many times are you willing to try and fail? Like I don't know if you ask them what their actual success rates were, I don't know if you would get a very good number. Like how successful actually are they when it comes to this is how many women I asked, this is how many women I got with. Like, yeah, no. Probably like the people who actually want to get married and have kids might have a better success rate of asking, getting a date, because they yeah, I don't know.
For whom some of these techniques will work. So if we look at like, because a big part of this is like you have to approach thousands of women, right? And use these techniques on thousands of women. And when you use these techniques on thousands of women, you will get better at it and it will work. And I think that there's a lot of validity to that, right? But let's understand what's the mechanism for that. So if I walk down the street and I try to break into 1,000 houses, eventually
yes, because you're Indian.
I'm going
to Are Indians famous for stealing stuff? If he was black, I would make that compliment.
Find someone who did not lock their door, right? Like I'm just going to go down the street and try to open doors. And like eventually it'll work. And the sad truth is that there are a lot of people out there, including women, that have been traumatized. And as they are traumatized, as they struggle with things like low self-esteem, what happens is that being mean to them, being insulting to them, can actually get them to trigger some kind of like sexual engagement with you, and that can work. Like,
yeah, I wouldn't doubt it. Honestly, it does feel like it could very easily.
So, yeah, just to give you all an example of that. Right? So we know, for example, that some people have something called an anxious attachment style. We know that some people who have an anxious attachment style will utilize sexual activity as a form of creating intimacy. We know there are some people out there who will use sexual activity as a form of emotional regulation. So if you keep on checking with various women, and you find someone who has been abused growing up, which, by the way, is like not that uncommon.
Also, wouldn't doubt that.
Right, so somewhere around 30 to 37% of women will have some experience of sexual assault in their life. So the odds are kind of in your favor if you're doing this with hundreds or...
Well, yeah. I think I've mentioned something kind of along these lines before, too, but I'm going to guess... I guess I don't know if I mentioned something like this, but it does feel like men would probably have a much lower rate of actually reporting sexual assault, so I don't know exactly what the dynamics would be there between the genders. It feels like for men it's a lot less prevalent.
Thousands of women, like 1 out of 3, you'll find these people, and then eventually you'll win, right? Like win.
It's a lot less prevalent that they report it, not a lot less prevalent that they actually. I don't know whether it would be. Forget. I imagine you guys got what.
The sense of you will succeed in having sexual relationship with someone, but I don't think that's because your technique is like a great technique.
I get it. You would need some sort of per capita ratio type thing where you can see, okay, how many times did you try and how many times did you actually succeed? Like how universally applicable is this technique of yours? Because like anyone could have something that would work for like 1 in 1,000 people, probably. It's not that impressive on the face of it, at least.
I think it's just exploiting a vulnerability in a population that has been traumatized and is vulnerable. So once you kind of do this, then it can work. Now, I think like that's like on the unfortunate end of things, right? So I don't think that these techniques are like really valuable. I mean, they're valuable if that's what your goal is, but I don't think it's like you figured out some great holy grail kind of thing. I think it's just it's a methodology for taking advantage of people who have been traumatized and or abused.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a good way of talking.
And the reason
I think in a lot of cases that's probably a good generalization to make ish.
That I think one of the reasons that a lot of these techniques are founded on doing it with a bunch of people is that if you encounter one of the 50% of women who have a secure attachment style, they'll be like, you're crazy, bro, and they'll cover their drink and they'll never talk to you again.
Mm-hmm. Based.
So a big part of this kind of pickup artist and red pill success is actually hinged on the fact that we're going to like...
It does feel like, like you said, it has a lot to do with finding cutting the weak ones out of the herd. Like that's their whole shtick. Like, how do I get the weakest, most insecure woman and make her want to date me? Like,
we're going to use a scatter shot method, right? We're going to use a shotgun shell instead of a sniper rifle. I'm not talking about literally, I mean like metaphorically, right? And we're going to cover a lot of ground, and eventually we'll find someone who this will work for. I don't think that means that the method is that good of a method, because there are far better methods, which we'll get to. But I think that's kind of why it works. So that's on the severe end of negging. So I think another reason that people really like negging is because it makes them feel better about themselves. So if you're a dude who has been hurt by women, and this is something I feel like super confident about, I would say I
just feel like that is kind of one of the notions behind it, like or could very easily be the notion behind it, like a type of taking back the power. You could probably often see this evidenced in the notion of people who have a breakup or something like that, where you really like this person, you really cared about this person, but now you have to disparage them endlessly because you want not to like them at that point. You want to make the notion of you breaking up with them easier, and there's part of that you just have to reclaim your kind of maybe it's just a degree of making yourself not care about that person or that relationship. I feel like that could maybe be more what I'm trying to say.
100% of pickup artists, red pills, and incels that I have worked with have had at least one traumatic, if not multiple traumatic experiences with women. So I think a lot of this stuff is born out of like traumatic experiences. And one of the things that starts to happen anytime you get traumatized by someone, there's a power dynamic, right? This person hurt you. And if you look at like red pill and pickup artist kind of stuff, they'll talk a lot. We'll see this today. They talk a lot about power and power dynamics, and power is everything. Power, 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 power. And so why are people so obsessed with power? Usually because they have traumatic experiences in their own life where
again, I wouldn't doubt that.
They were made to feel weak.
It seems to map on pretty well. Like I didn't really watch a lot of the red pill stuff back in its heyday. But it does feel like a lot of them were they were obsessed with the idea of being powerful. Like the type of person who would tell a story, like a very tall tale about them, I don't know, beating up on a guy or backing someone down or something like that. Which I'm not saying that can never be the case, like those stories can never be true, but it feels like there's a type of person who often tells this type of story where they were very intimidating to another person, or they just like, yeah, I don't know.
Right? You loved this girl, you did everything for this girl, and she ended up taking advantage of your kindness, friend zoning you, and then going and fucking a different dude. And so you feel incredibly powerless, and then you try to create this power dynamic. So one of the things that we know is if you look at the psychology of people who were abused, why are they more likely to be abusive? Right? So if you think about someone like a child who's growing up and is abused, it's wild because on the one hand, and I've met plenty of people who are like this, right? They say to themselves, if I have kids one day, I will never do this to my children because it is so harmful. That's what some people do, right? They're like, I'm going to correct the mistakes of my parents. I will never do.
Yeah, you're going to make all new mistakes mostly. No, it does feel like you either end up the same as your parents or you end up completely different to some extent. Like, very rarely will you just develop like a kind of only marginally tangential identity, like a comfortable standard deviation away from your parents. Like, it feels like quite often children either end up the exact same or they end up completely different.
Do to someone else what has been done to me. But what is also true is that some people are like, I am weak in this situation. The right way to solve this situation is to not be in this position, but to be in the other position. There is a position of power and there is a position of weakness. And we go through this thing where we like psychologically try to flip ourselves to the other side because then we feel better about ourselves, right? There's the victim, there's the predator, and there's the prey. I hate being the prey, so I'm going to become the predator because the predator is never the prey. So we see both of those things.
I feel like it's a very simplistic way of looking at relationships, but also I think you could probably come up with people who have grown up in scenarios where that is the only type of relationship they've ever known. That's the only type of relationship they've ever known, and that's the way they look at things. Like, I don't know, it just feels like a very dysfunctional perspective to have on, yeah.
And I think we see this as well in this kind of red pill pickup artist community, where I was hurt, therefore I'm going to put someone else down to make me feel better. Now, there's a lot of good stuff in here, which I think is like, what's kind of really interesting about a lot of the red pill stuff is I think that they get a lot of this stuff right. So what I think is really valuable about this is this conception relies on a misunderstanding of what a neg is. A neg isn't an insult. A neg, rather, is merely the kind of comment that someone who was interested in her wouldn't make. Okay? So I think that this is...
And again, it comes back to, I think the notion would be that, okay, so... I'll forget.
This is what's
I lost.
really, really interesting about a lot of this.
No, I think I was going to say, like, again, I think it's better than complimenting or being mean. Just be yourself. And hopefully that will result in a very, like, a more balanced approach to women.
Like pickup artist and red pill mentality is that they do things to someone else. But the primary area of action is actually internally. So they'll do all this stuff to women, but what they're really...
I might have sponged this from him, because I think he does go into this. Like, he's kind of saying some... You know, I guess I don't know.
Really doing is trying to change something internally. So if my problem as a dude is that I get way too interested in women, and then I don't say no, I don't set boundaries, I let them take advantage of me, instead of like working on that in here, what I can do is engage in certain techniques to try to change my view of them. So if my problem is that I value women too much, I can engage in a technique that changes my value towards them. So this is what's really wild, and I think there's not a whole lot of insight into in the community. A lot of these techniques are outward facing, but the actual mechanism of action is internally. So when I'm super into a person and I'm like, oh my God, they have the nicest hair and they're the kindest and the prettiest and they're the most compassionate and I love the way they smell and all this kind of shit.
Sim.
those kinds of thoughts lead us down a path.
Well, I was gonna say, I think a lot of incels or whatever, they're people who don't really have a social group that they can just associate with, like, co-educational social groups, if that makes sense. Like, they don't associate with women in their pastime, or in a lot of ways they don't really get a lot of one-on-one. They don't get a lot of quality time with an intragender group. And because of that, I feel like they are probably not that functional with regards to talking to these sorts of people or stuff.
That turns us into a beta. So what we need to do to avoid that path is to start to devalue them. And if I devalue them, then I can behave in a more balanced way. So I think this is actually like not bad at all. Right. So but I think the key thing is that you don't have to insult someone to do that. Right. You don't have to put someone down to do that, which is, I think, what this person really stumbled into, is that the real source of negging is not, a traumatic
The real point.
reenactment where you are now in a powerful position, which is what some people do in the
maybe he's talking about the origin, like why it would work,
pickup artist
or why it's good. I don't know.
Community, and then we're going to hunt for thousands of people, and
Far be it from me to put words in other people's mouths.
eventually find someone who's psychologically damaged enough to where this shit will work. Right? Works. It's actually like recognizing that when I negate my own interest in someone, I become more balanced, and that I think is like really, really good. So when we get overly invested in things, this person kind of calls this negging, or it's about decreasing your own interest. And once your own interest gets more balanced, you will behave in a better way. I think there's a lot of validity to that. Make sense? Yeah, fear of rejection is so bad. So this is really good, right? So let's understand this. Someone saying, oh, whoops. Someone saying fear of rejection is really bad. Yeah, so what are the ways that you can reduce your fear of rejection? Fear of rejection only hurts when...
All right. You know what? That was a little bit longer than I thought. You guys can go check out... Again, at the end, there's a really nice area that was... All right. I think that's about what I wanted to cover. You guys can check out the rest if you like on your own. I might push off the Edward Bloch thing till next week and just go straight into the gaming part. Dr. K and Dr. Cruty review pickup artists' advice. I don't know if Dr. Cruty ever comes on. I don't think he does. Or she. I don't know. I don't know who it is. Anyways, go check that out if you like. Let's go. Age of Empires. No, I actually gotten halfway through the campaign when I hadn't been able to hear anything. But I think it has to do. I had my earbuds also connected to my phone somehow, and it was glitching with stuff. So, anyways, sound problems. Now I think we're all good. Hopefully you guys can hear it. Hopefully I can hear it. And this is the last campaign that we're going to go through.
The only way that we can hold the boggy lowlands around Falkirk is to build a castle and as many walls as we can construct in a short time. These fortifications will serve to protect our capital as we construct siege weapons with which to assault the English castle. Once the castle is constructed,
I feel like the backtrack
Wallace himself has sworn to join our forces.
White
Together,
noise machine.
we will attack Longshanks and his English troops.
What's the working part, anyways? Construction site. That's got to be some sort of white noise thing, right? Alright. I was actually thinking the other day about there's probably a way to optimize which settlers
The English
and
can
where
attack at any time. You
where
have some
you
walls
put them.
already, but you should complete them as soon as you have enough stone.
Kia, Trebach,
Arlo, Nienige.
Nienige.
Beat Fear.
Meet fear. This means like with fear or something.
Valgara, Bunid.
Valgara.
Fargere, to, Erlaf.
Oh, Erlaf.
Forgere, Kart, to.
You can also build towers to defend your city. Units can garrison within a tower for defense and protection, and archers can even fire out of a tower.
Kid, to, bid fear.
Scheiße. Oh, okay, they're attacking those things. Alright, that's fine. Fine for now, anyways.
Erlev. Raboye.
Arlev. Rabuga.
Kid. Raboye. Forgere. Kia.
If you have surplus resources of one type,
Raboye.
you can sell them for gold at your market. You can then use the gold to buy what you need.
Raboye.
To build a castle, you must first advance to the next age, the Castle Age.
To, Fargere, bid fear. To, Sankat.
Erlev.
The advanced buttons let you set combat states for your soldiers. A defensive soldier will be less likely to attack an enemy that comes near him. Click a military unit, then note the combat stance buttons in the lower left corner of the screen.
Raboye.
Using the advanced buttons, you can also command a soldier to patrol an area between 2 points and guard or follow another unit.
That's something I wish they had this in the third one. It feels like they kind of like. I like the story. It was kind of a cool, setting, the Circle of Ossus and all that stuff.
You have enough resources to go to the Castle Age. You should do that soon.
No, do it when I'm good and ready.
Erlaf.
There's more stone down there.
The advanced buttons allow access to a new type of formation. For example, with a box formation, you can protect a weak unit, such as a monk.
Kid. Kia. To. Bid fear.
Fargere. To. To, bid. Kogo! Kogo! Bid fear. To. To.
I actually discovered the last. Well, I had played through this again. Like my sound was on the fritz or whatever. I had played through this, and I realized there's a upgrade you can get for the castle, which heals all the units within a 7-tile radius. Pretty dang sweet.
Kid. Bid fear. Forgere. Bid fear.
Alright, let's maybe go this one.
Congratulations! You're going to find lots of things to do in the Castle Age. For starters, Try building a siege workshop to make battering rams and other siege weapons.
You do it. Probably should get some more people on wood at some point here too.
Kid. Erlov.
Cut. You know what?
Erlov.
Why not? Just go the distance and
Rabogia.
yes, already.
Margaret.
These guys waiting in the wings just in case. Alright, let's get some more on.
You may need to assign extra villagers to gather stone, so you'll have enough to build the castle and all the fortifications you need.
Kid. Valgara.
Bid fear.
Kia.
There. I also want
Valgara.
That's like the coolest, eh? I feel like there could be a soundtrack to something.
Great! You have completed the castle. Sir William should be here soon, and then it will be time to attack the English. Wallace has come.
Bid fear.
Those meat bastards. Oh, thank God.
Kid.
Never mind. We're good.
Oh.
And now that we have a few ships to guard them.
One of your most powerful units is created at the castle. Create 10 more Wood Raiders.
Wood raiders.
Erlov.
Heaven. Alright,
Erlov.
Alright, there we are.
Char.
Oh. Entirely. Nope. There we go. Alright.
Rabogia.
Rest your gate.
Kia.
You can start. Sweet
Kid.
glory. Get
Erlov.
inside, you
Oh.
morons.
Rabogia.
Forgere. Ho.
Let's start
Rabogia.
buildings. Still, like, the wall system is different than Age of Empires 3.
With William Wallace and his Wood Raiders on your side, the English may be in
Rabogia.
trouble. Once you have a large army with plenty of siege weapons, go destroy the English castle.
See, I thought you'd be able to build kind of a dock, but they might just keep going until there ain't nothing left. Keep sending raids and carry until all of your I think I might just let them destroy that one. Who cares about the watchtowers? Make it a... Okay.
Kia.
Char. Brabwigge.
Okay.
Far
No,
at
no, no,
Noka.
no, no, no.
Toll.
Not the deuce.
Toll. Car. Toll.
Your aggro is pretty far on it. Well, I guess technically if it's attacking something
Here.
inside the
Here.
town, maybe that makes sense. So I think
Rob
that's
Wigger.
gonna work to close things off. Good. Now.
Erlem.
University.
Brabwigge. Kid. Brabwigge.
Yeah, this is the one. Stronghold. Castles and watchtowers line attack 30 tower line attack 33% faster. Castles heal allies and infantry in a 7-tile radius. It's something. It's a weird thing. You actually observe it in these things too. Just like the DLC campaigns they came up with are kind of colorless. They're colorless in my mind. It's not that they're not like kind of cool, but just not what they once were. Kind of cool sound effect. They just, it's a little bit different, but not much. Yeah. So that's kind of a mixture of some stuff. Alright.
Margaret.
What are these guys? 85 compared to 40? That's pretty good, honestly, as far as infantry. So I think we might be using the Woad Raiders as infantry. I think that's a 4 armor. What do the Woad Raiders have?
Kid.
They have no armor. Apparently. Wait. They have a lot of pierce armor. And these guys. Oh no, these guys have 0 armor to start with as well. That's their attack. I was reading it wrong. 40 health, 4 attack, 0 armor. 0 pierce armor? Or 1 pierce armor? I have no idea. Alright. Yeah, I think we're gonna go with the Woad Raiders.
Forgere.
Nienige.
Nienige. So I assume they're kind of
Jack.
done.
Oh,
I think I can hopefully create a something
Rob
here.
Wigger.
Erlov. Margaret.
+1. So these guys have a lot better attack just in general. I don't know if that affects the Woad Raiders. I think at some point I probably can advance, but I need. Like in this case, the problem is resources, not that.
Kia. Feed fear.
Alright. Ballistics. Murder rolls. What the deuce? Okay. That's gonna be a problem.
Vargara.
Let me build a...
Raboge.
Kid. Bid fear.
Erlov. Kia. Tol. Kjart. Boenit.
Hjert. Bonnet.
Yeah, you suck.
Raboge. Raboge.
There.
Erlov.
Have enough from...
Kid.
Yeah, I
Tall.
kind of also want to make sure those guys don't dig a... No, we're good still. Make sure they didn't dig a path through the forest.
Kia.
Bid 4.
Vargere.
Kid.
Nenige. Bittil. Raboge.
Kid. Tall.
Forgere. Kid.
Bid fear. Erlov. Tall.
Kid.
Bid 4. Raboge. Tol. Raboge.
Vargere. Tall. Tall. Bid fear. Erlov. Tall.
Nice. Nice, yeah. Leafy cow. Alright. Now. Let's get some... couple of ships moving. Unfortunately, I'm reaching almost population capacity.
Forgere.
Nenige.
Kia.
Nenige.
Need again.
Kid. Tall. Bid fear.
Unlock trebuchets later on.
Vargere.
So once I get to the Imperial Age here, should be all good. Fine and dandy, in fact. Still
Erlov.
on build.
Raboge.
I cannot. No, I'm not sorry. It was fun. Alright, so. Castle.
Kia. Bid 4.
Alright. I don't know if I. Maybe I don't really need that.
Tall. Kid.
There's a thing. Is it going up? I thought that was supposed to heal. There's only certain types of stuff. Anyways.
Trebuchets
There
are
we go.
massive siege weapons with a great range, available only in the Imperial Age. Remember that trebuchets must be packed to move
Research
and
hoardings,
unpacked to
castles,
fire.
scrapyards, donjons. Donjons. I'm pretty sure that's like a Eastern thing. Maybe India, Southeast Asia. Donjons. Malaysia, maybe. No, I think it's Southeast Asia, like Korea or something like that. Clippus, why not? But
Erland.
let's stick these guys in. Oh, for the love.
Bid fear.
So I think if it translucency or whatever. Alright. Is there any other gold on the map? Might be some over there we go. There's some.
Erlov.
Alright, now.
Margaret.
5,000. Not too shabby. Food attack versus ram. Maybe get through to research.
Forgere. Toe.
Let's stick at least.
Toe. Rabwege.
So good. As they said in ancient. Whatever. So I'm thinking we don't really need these guys anymore. It's not in the towers, not with that thingy is there.
Erlov. Margaret.
Alright, let's maybe check out for the love.
Kid. Done cut. Margaret. Bid fear. Erlov. Toe. Kid. Bid fear. Toe. Toe.
More love. A couple more paladins. Nice. Chevalier. Chevalier? I think that's actually where chauvinist comes from. Chevalier. And that's paladin. There we go.
Kid.
Margaret.
But for the moment, let's see what we got going on over at the castle. Maybe knock down the gates if we get a chance. And their voice is starting to go. Stupid. Ow! Bloody. My neck has been getting weird, I think, just because I was doing some stuff on the PC. They cranked all out of proportion. overthinking this because, like, where's the castle?
Tall.
What the? No.
Kid.
Sorry. So they did probably unpack and then they
Tall
moved.
blade.
I just didn't see it. Alright, pack. Up. Move here. I'm not sure that's discover the castle, right?
Margaret. Come back. Kid.
Castle's probably somewhere down here. Right? There's flags. There we are.
Have a look. Kid. Bit here.
Some guys right here, just in case they try to get fancy with it. Yeah, I think it was. This is the tutorial basically for the Age of Empires, so I don't think there's really gonna be much crazy going on here.
Margaret. Pogo. Pogo. Tall. Tall. Have a look. Tall. Bit here. Tall.
And
Tall.
and William Wallace stayed alive. Nice.
Bit here.
Nice. Now, is there anything else in this thing?
The English castle at Falkirk is no more. The English pretensions in Scotland are surely at an end.
Yeah.
The forces of Wallace are triumphant.
Fortunately not. I guess I don't know. Maybe fortunately. I don't get into that. But they definitely weren't over, I don't think.
It looked certain that we would be defeated at Falkirk. Yet somehow, though outnumbered and outranged by English longbows, we were victorious. The English castle was torn down, and a Scottish one shall be built in its place. William Wallace
could
has shown
possibly
us the
go
path
wrong?
to victory. Although he is but one man, he inspires great deeds in others. Many of the Scottish knights and lords have drawn their swords with his. Wallace's own sword is a 5.5-foot beast, forged of course in Scotland. He has sworn not to rest until his sword finds the neck of Edward Longshanks. The struggle will continue, for we have learned the ways of war. Now, it is the English who fear.
Bloody English. Sorry. Yeah. And that's William Wallace. Technically, I think he died, right? I don't know how accurate the movie was, but I think he did actually, and they ended up executing him or something. I doubt he yelled freedom in an ostentatious, over-the-top sort of way when he was dying, though. Actually, I didn't watch that, but that's kind of the scene you see from memes or whatever. Highlights. Anyways. Alright. Thank you guys for watching, and you have a fantastic weekend.